gun.
What?
Gun.
What?
Like a handgun. For personal protection. If somebody tries to mug you.
What?
Or if your government tries to throw you in a can.
What?
You're gonna want a shotgun.
Oh.
What? An automatic rifle. And a lot of ammo.
Gun?
Yeah, gun.
We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They'll burn you out like you Waco. They'll stick your ass in a camp. 10 footy cops in riot gear, gonna kick your ass and laugh. The revolution is on its way. Better lock and load your AK. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They gave your money to the banksters. They stole your pension funds. It's time that we took to the streets. It's time we had our turn. A revolution is on its way, and the founding fathers would say, buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta drag them through the streets.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday. We are live. This is PrimerTime. My name is Michael.
I'm Nick, and I may be the most interesting beer drinker in the world tonight.
Are you now? Ladies
yes.
and gentlemen, I'd like to make an announcement. We are scheduled to have a visit by a surprise guest tonight as soon as he remembers his password. So as soon as he comes online, we're going to bring him on in. But other than that,
that's why you do
how's
the
your
smart
weather?
thing and you write down all your passwords. Put them right next to your computer so they can get stolen.
Right. Yeah, you should just put like a Post-it note on the inside of the laptop or something.
Hey, if it works for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, that's right. They're well, she wipes everything. I was
What do you mean,
particularly
like with
offended.
a cloth or something?
I was particularly offended by with a cloth or something, and then the motion, the hand motion of wiping a screen was, yeah, that was almost gut wrenching. Yeah, but hey, Clinton 2016, the train is rolling on. So I think she's the untouchable, and she's on her way in. But
well,
tell me about it.
I don't know. I think honestly, I think her poll numbers are starting to show that there's some panic at the disco because old Bernie Sanders, the socialist, is he's pulled ahead of her in places like Iowa and New Hampshire. I think
that sounds an awful lot like Ron Paul during the 2012 campaign, does it not?
Well, I think that the problem that she faces is there's a lack of credibility and there's a lack of likability. I'm not a fan of watching MSNBC at all, but I do watch Andrea Mitchell to support my senior citizen crowd. And Andrea Mitchell kind of came out with, this is the white folks, the white women are leaving Hillary Clinton's camp in droves. So,
well, it's interesting that you watch Andrea Mitchell because if you really think about it, Andrea Mitchell's husband is Alan Greenspan.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
She not only inside, but she is giving the official propaganda. That's awesome because, like, for MSNBC, I personally like Melissa Harris Perry because when Melissa Harris Perry talks, it's enjoyable. It's like big holes in her arguments. It's wonderful. It's almost practice for me. But I don't think she's on MSNBC a whole lot anymore.
No, she's actually dealing with some income tax evasion stuff. So her plate's kind of full. So, Michael, I think we have a guest. I'm checking to see if we got him.
Is
Hello,
it the one?
Doing?
The one, the only. This is our guest, Captain Gringo.
How you doing, Gringo?
Just fine. How are you, Nick? How are you, Mike?
I'm
Doing well, sir.
Doing well. Any night you can go ahead and throw down a couple of beers without the cops breaking down your door, that's a good night.
Heck yeah.
Hey, that brings up an interesting point. Did you see that that guy, I believe he was in, I forgot what county he was in. It was in Texas. They declined to prosecute him for shooting the police officer who did the no-knock raid on his home.
Yeah, you're going to kind of be hard pressed to find a jury that's going to a grand jury that's going to indict somebody for what basically works out to a unlawful, breaking and entering. I think he's well within his rights to defend himself in his property.
But the downside to that is that I believe they're trying to get the death penalty for 0.025 grams of marijuana.
Yeah, well, it's a trade-off.
Hey, somebody that has 0.025 grams of marijuana is effectively out of marijuana.
Because after this beer and the next beer, there's only 2 cases of beers left.
Yeah, I tell you what, as an individual who's never partaken of the party favors, I have absolutely no idea what equates to a good time and what is like, oh shit, got to go to the store and get some more.
Yeah, I have no idea either. I was at a family barbecue when this occurred.
Yeah, well, at least you're wearing in Oklahoma because a family tree ends up being more like a Christmas wreath.
Don't talk bad about Oklahoma. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
It's not their fault.
And it's not their fault that they were on our land before we got there. So shout out to all our native listeners.
Oh, Jesus, that's not a good one. All right, so let's get to the meat of this before we offend everybody tonight.
Because we're equal opportunity. We're going to shoot for everybody.
And that's kind of interesting. Let's not even... All right, so I'm not necessarily an Obama fan, but he did say something that I kind of felt was honorable. He gave I forgot the college. I didn't save the story. But he did give a speech the other day where he spoke out about the trend at colleges to ban people who may say something that is triggering or, may cause latent PTSD and, keyboard warriors and whatnot. And he said that's not exactly how you learn. And I thought that was actually kind of smart of him. I can respect that statement completely, but it also yeah, that's right out of the Alinsky playbook right there. But
well, see, I think this is the thing when it comes down to, everybody wants free speech. Everybody wants the ability to say anything that they want to without consequence. But the point of the matter remains is that whenever you do that, you have to have a firm belief in something that's going to defend your ability to say that. And I think that brings it back full circle to the armed population being able to say, hey, I want to say whatever I want to say. And this, not only this Constitution gives me the right to say it, but the Second Amendment specifically gives me the guarantee that I can defend myself and my right to say that stuff. So, I mean, that's pretty good.
Oh,
well,
certainly.
Go ahead. Go. Sorry.
Well, no. Well, I was just going to say, most certainly. That's not saying I'm going to hold a gun to your head and make you listen to what I got to say, but that's the check and balance there. That you're not going to let somebody run roughshod on you and keep you from speaking your mind. That whole Sam Colt made us all equal thing applies, I feel.
Yeah, I agree, and not only that, I have a feeling like 155 millimeter howitzer shells make us all equal. And speaking of that, if you're a Mexican in Egypt, you probably want to stay out of the blast radius.
I like to give a shout out to my Mexican brothers listening. Due to your tans and your Mexicanisms, they're going to look at you just like ISIS. So stay on the bus.
Yeah,
stay on the bus.
I tell you what, man. That's the one time that the Mexicans are saying, "No, man, I'm Guatemalan."
I don't think they really could shout that loud over the incoming whistling feet.
Well, as we say in the Army, artillery doesn't stop on the battlefield, and if you find yourself in a conflict zone, number one, you're taking your life into your own hands. Number two, if you're in a conflict zone and you look like the combatants, you probably have a reasonable expectation that you might find yourself in the crossfire.
But I don't think that they were kind of aware of that. Go ahead.
It's interesting you say that, because from the stories that I've read, 2 of those individuals that were Mexican held dual Mexican-U.S. citizenship.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it means that at some point they've understood and comprehended enough English to be able to listen to CNN and CNN saying,
to know that
"Stay out of
it's
Egypt."
everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, from what I understand, they actually got out of the bus and they were having a barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
Which, of course, would be the most Mexican way to die in Egypt, is at a barbecue getting hit by a goddamn mortar shell or something. But, Jesus,
Yeah.
Hey, when you got a taco, you got a taco, baby.
That's right.
Dude, it's not often you get Egyptian goat.
Well, for folks who haven't had the pleasure of eating goat, and I can tell you it's not bad, but what do you think that they make all the Greek food out of? It's either goat or lamb, and it's the same thing that the Greeks brought into the Middle East. That they all eat damn near the same thing.
Well, speaking of getting good food from the earth out of animals, Captain Gringo went hunting.
Oh, got to hear a report.
Yeah, got lucky enough to go teal hunting this week. Did some scouting over the weekend and did a little fishing trip. We call it a cast and blast trip. We go out in the bays, duck hunting in the morning, and then after you get through duck hunting, you go fishing. So we went out, caught some fish the night before. The next morning, which was the day before yesterday, we went out and didn't get a whole limit of teal or anything, but we shot 4 and had a damn good time.
So for those of us that haven't had the experience of going out and shooting for different types of ducks, the teal is that something that you're going to go ahead and take as a trophy, or is it something you're going to go ahead and take and process to eat?
Process to eat, most certainly. They're a small duck. A teal, if you're not familiar with them, they're a small duck, and they usually arrive a lot earlier than all the other big ducks, like your mallards and pintails and different things. And we're located on the Central Flyway down here where I'm at, near Galveston, Houston area. And I'm hunting right off Galveston Bay in a national wildlife refuge. And it's only open and even during the season, it's not open every day, just on Wednesdays and the weekends. Except during teal season, it is open every day. But teal are a small duck. They're about 3 or 4 pounds and like getting around in real shallow water, like 18 inches or less. They're not a big open water duck by any means. Sorry about that.
Well, what's your weapon of choice for shooting teal? I'm assuming it's a shotgun, probably with a very small shot size.
Yes, I was shooting my 12 gauge 1187 with 3-inch steel shot, 6-shot.
Okay. Now, is that size of shot, is that mandated by law in your location?
Wide thing. You're out pursuing waterfowl. They say the lead, especially in places hunted year after year, like out there in the mud, and when those ducks dive down and go filtering, and when they first changed the law, the steel shot really wasn't too good. They have now, and I tell you, after the past 2 days hunting, I've had no problems with the steel shot whatsoever.
Well, what was your ammunition of choice? I mean, what was the brand that you were using?
Let's see, I even grabbed one. We're using Kent shells. They're Kent's the brand, and these actually have a cool name. They're called Teal Steel, and it's 6-shot.
Okay, number 6 shot. That'll work. So out here, we actually have, we do have out towards the coastal areas. We got folks that are hunting ducks, but what we also have is Canada geese. And Canada geese season, that's where these guys are taking the black cloud, and they're going out there trying to aim for those guys. But you said you picked up 4 teal.
Is that enough for one person, or is that going to be enough for a couple folks after the cast and blast period is over?
Well, it should be enough for two people. They're like a really, really big dove. I just breast them out. I don't pluck the whole bird. I just breast them out. And also, I've been going with my neighbor. I've got a neighbor that's 72 years old, and this is just a weekend house for him. And he comes down, and that's who I've been going hunting and fishing with. So I just let him take the birds home for him and his wife to have a meal with.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. Well, to go ahead and jump in behind you, I got some news for Michael and you, Captain. I was actually able to score a hunting opportunity, possibly long term this weekend.
All right, good deal, Nick. Good deal. Good to hear, man.
So what kind of land is this going to be that you're going to be using?
So what it is appears to be is it's a family farm that is right now primarily growing corn. They're getting right towards the end of their growing season. And interesting way I came about this was I was getting ready to go assist a colleague of mine from work to go set up a ladder stand out on his lease. And as we turned off the main road, getting onto the little gravel road that takes him out to his lease, I saw a beagle or a beagle mix kind of trotting itself down the road. And when I slowed down to look at the dog just kind of like looked up at me, and I stopped my truck. And the dog didn't run off or didn't keep going, and so I just slowly started to creep moving forward, and the dog turned and followed me down the road about 50 yards. And I said, obviously this dog is either missing or, lost its way or hungry. So, I like dogs enough to where I didn't just keep driving down the road and let him go. I picked him up, set him in front of the air conditioner, and he was panting like crazy. So I looked at his collar, called the number on it, and it was a farmer in the local area. And I said, hey, sir, just calling you to let you know, I think I've got your dog. He's looking like he's could use some water or some food. And he sent his mom out there. And about 45 minutes later, his mom shows up on that gravel road where I was holding the dog. And she's like, hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that number one, you took the time to call. And number two, that you stayed with the dog and just instead of letting him run away. She's like, by chance, are you guys hunters? And, my colleague and I said, well, yes, we are. And
yes, ma'am.
So, long story short, she went ahead and gave us some contact information for her family farm. And she said that she prefers to have folks that are in the military come out there and do the hunting because we are respectable folk, as she said, and we don't tear stuff up. So hopefully things are going to look up here in the future for me.
Man, that's great, Nick. That's great. Good deal, man.
So
getting out in the woods or getting out in the water and in the marsh the last couple days, and I've been doing a lot of fishing here lately too. And I tell you, it's a really relaxing thing. I think more people ought to do it. Even if you just go sit in a lawn chair and watch the woods wake up in the morning, it's always better than a good day at work.
Oh, I agree, Michael. You can tell us all about that.
About a good day at work? Yeah, that's my favorite thing. Yeah, we'll discuss that for hours.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean.
So listen.
Go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
What this shows for both of you, right? So, Gringo, you've been out with your neighbor who's a little bit older, and Nick, you did kind of a good deed for these people, and these are all kind of like essential tenets of like the firearms community, and this is really how it should operate, and. I mean, this is something that's evident when you go to a gun show. There's, people are very respectful. Oh, excuse me, pardon me, I'm very sorry, didn't mean to bump into you. That kind of stuff. I think that's really not the side of firearms ownership that's shown in the media, and what's being presented.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that. With what we've had lately, we've got the Black Lives Matter movement, and now I'm starting to see the Blue Lives Matter movement starting to pop up. You notice that there nary a day goes by in the last few months where there isn't some mass media event that whether it's Martin O'Malley today calling for Maryland-style gun control in the United States, or the father of a slain individual calling for extreme gun control measures. I think that it's all about keeping that in the public eye.
Well, everything is now reported as a multiple shooting. It's always a multiple shooting, and if it's within a half mile of a school, it's always right near a school, like it happened on the playground or something. Even if it was two thugs shooting it out at a 7-Eleven a half mile away, So I mean, you have to really read between the lines, and I mean, our audience is good at that, but I mean, kind of pass it on to the people that that may have these preconceptions that that guy's got a gun and it'll get up in the middle of the night and go out and shoot somebody and then come back and hide.
Yeah, and I think that I don't know if you guys picked up on the story about the Delta State University shooting. It wasn't a singular event. Apparently, it's starting to look more and more like a love triangle between a spurned university professor, his former flame, and an individual that he attributed to getting in the middle of them. So, the first thing I hear about is that it's a shooting and automatically a semi-automatic handgun was used. Like semi-automatic handguns just randomly jump up and find somebody to kill.
Well, it's the worst. It's totally worse to die from a semi-automatic handgun than anything else. I mean, well, unless it's a black rifle, like an AR-15 or something. That's a pretty horrible way to die. But just the fact that it's got a scary name is really. I mean, I think they would rather you get stabbed to death or bludgeoned to death with like. Well,
it's apparently it's a less violent way to go. Never mind the fact that the individual who would probably knife you would have to be within arm's reach of you in order to do that. What I honestly and truly think that there are some writing standards, whether it be from the Associated Press or Reuters or whatever, their style guide stipulates that any time a firearm is used in the commission of a crime, is that if it's a handgun, it's automatically going to be a semi-automatic pistol. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a Glock.
I've carried my semi-automatic pistol out in the marsh. We'll be fishing for the last month or so, and I haven't shot a single person yet. And there's even been people I've caught in my fishing hole, and I didn't even shoot them. So just because you got a semi-automatic pistol don't mean you got to shoot somebody, I guess.
Well, and that's the thing. I think, how many times were weapons misidentified, and the authors of the stories didn't even bother to write a retraction. It was just, you got to think that if you're a corporation or a company like Glock, where 90% of the press that you get in the media is negative, you've got to be able to contend with that some way, and I'm guessing it is.
Well, I think they already know that any press they get is actually positive, because the people who aren't going to buy a gun are not going to buy a gun, and people who are going to buy a gun already know what they're going to buy, and then that little fraction that's on the edge of whether they're going to buy a gun or they're not going to buy a gun, hear about a Glock, and Jesus H. Christ, that's the one to get, because that's the one they always use.
Well, apparently,
so if I'm going to get one, I got to be at least as good as them. So yeah, the Glock is what gets bought, even if it's a Smith & Wesson Glock or a Taurus Glock or somebody else's Glock. It's a Glock because it's a polymer handgun.
Right, but here's the thing. You've got to admit that the New York City Police Department doesn't carry Glocks because they don't hit anybody.
That's because of the 40 caliber.
Yeah, 84 and 83 misses. Yeah, they're not shooting Glocks because Glocks have this ability to just go around corners.
Well, and they pass through the metal detectors, and they're made out of ceramic, and they cost 3 times what you make in a month and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
I'll tell you what though, when it comes down to the latest craze, I'm starting to see a lot of the Glock the Model 43s. I'm starting to see a lot of those floating around.
For sale, like on the secondary market.
Yeah, on the secondary market. Apparently,
well, I think a lot of those guys bought it because it was the hot new thing coming out, right? It was the latest subcompact single stack, and they paid a hefty price for them, man. Those things, when in the first couple weeks they were out, maybe first month they were out, they were $650, and now Now they're $349 or $399. They're maybe $439 now. So there's a lot of guys out there trying to recoup their losses. And I mean, as Gringo, as you could tell, like just from what's going on around in our area, like the money's kind of disappearing, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's tightening up a little bit, no doubt about it, man. This oil price is affecting a lot of things, not just the oil field.
Right. There's all the secondary, like the restaurants and the Walmarts and the hotels and the cleaning companies and whatever people who use in their regular life aside from work. But I'm seeing a lot of toys going up for sale at about this time. And Nick, I think your view of seeing a lot of 43s up for sale is just about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and not only when you're talking about toys, so some of those impulse, purchases that guys make, whether it's to avoid the rush or get in on the tail end of the rush. I'm even seeing a guy on the local gun trader who's got a page that no doubt has 10 pages worth of bumps, and the advertisement it's for like a potato gun.
I don't think I'd buy anybody's potato gun.
I don't think so either. I'm surprised that the individual, I mean, persistent he is. I just don't see the value of wasting my time that it takes for me to bump that report every day.
Well, how much is this potato gun worth? I mean,
if
it's a $10,000 potato gun, he scores when he finally sells it. But
yeah, but how many $10,000 potato guns have you come across?
Well, I might be the only one. It's rare. You better go check that ad. Make sure it's not sold.
I tell you what,
you could be of value.
Yeah.
You remember that guy? Remember that guy from that one forum that we used to go on? The guy who had that SKS that was in the bullpup stock configuration.
Oh, the one that
had
he special custom made.
It only costed him $1,200 to make it.
And it was for sell, not for sale. It was for sell.
So, but it only costed him $1,200.
Yeah.
And what that had like 8 pages of bumps too.
Yeah. And I do believe you got one of your many cautions on the website for saying, "Come on, buddy, 2 more pages, you can do it."
Do it. You can make the record, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Michael, I had a question for you. I wanted to get your opinion on the Remington 1187.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think that's better handled by Captain Gringo, who was actually out throwing some lead from an 1187 this weekend.
Well, there you go. Captain, we got you with us still?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and give us your rundown on the 1187.
Well, I tell you, there's a long, kind of a funny story behind this 1187. I originally purchased a Browning Silver Hunter, and right before dove season, and I gave my Remington 1100 to one of my uncles that takes me hunting all the time, and I bought that Browning. Well, I get down there hunting. The very first shot, the gun jams up on me. Come to find out, they put a Gold Hunter barrel on my Silver Hunter shotgun, and I wasn't happy. Well, I was down in South Texas. There wasn't an academy close by for me to go exchange the gun at. They wouldn't allow me to do that because I had to take it to the store I bought it from to keep their paperwork straight. So I just went down to the store and bought me another shotgun, and that's why I bought that 1187. And I tell you, I've been really happy with it. It's one of the camo models. I forget what the length of the barrel is. I'm pretty sure it's a 28-inch barrel with interchangeable chokes, screw-in chokes. And by the way, I was shooting a modified choke at these teal, if that makes any difference to anybody. But
I like. It's good to know. Yeah, that's good to know because I personally like a really full choke. If I can get a hold of one, I like a full choke.
And for those of our listeners that don't really have the opportunity to experiment with the different chokes, what we're talking about is a device that's going to assist in keeping the shot pattern at a certain level, whether it's going to expand or it's going to stay more compact upon hitting the target. Usually, some screw-in chokes actually stay flush with the barrel, and in certain markets for different shotguns, some of the chokes actually extend beyond the end of the barrel, but they're still screwed in. So that's one of the reasons why we have the modified, the full, the cylinder, the improved cylinder. They all have different patterns.
And then there's plenty of funky chokes out there too. I mean, like there's duckbill chokes. There's chokes that will actually put out a square pattern. There's chokes that will put out a half circle. You know, there's all kinds of people out there playing with certain items.
Well, yeah, and not only that, you know, you may be able to give a little bit more information, Captain Gringo. When you have your chokes that you have set in for duck, is that something that you've got to go ahead and change out if you want to shoot turkey or dove?
Yeah, most certainly. If I go dove hunting, I usually want to improve cylinder, you know, just to open it up a little bit more. And if I go quail hunting, you know, I want the skeet choke or a definitely improved or skeet. You know, I want to get as much opening on that pattern as I can get. And you know, whereas a turkey, I'm wanting a full choke to keep that BBs in a smaller area. You know, put more on the target.
Right.
And I got a question for you guys.
You'd also use the. Go right ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to ask you guys.
With turkey, you'd also use the.
Michael, you go ahead and finish your question.
You'd use a different size shot for turkey, right?
Oh, most certainly. Yeah, I like number 4 shot for turkey.
Yeah,
and, you know, they make turkey loads and all that good stuff. I just still buy this regular old number 4 shot. I don't, you know, buy the all marketing hype stuff. You know, oh, this hits harder, this, you know, turkey load. I just go buy me some number 4 shot and go with it.
Yeah, and certain jurisdictions actually they prescribe the appropriate or maximum level of shot that you can use. And in my jurisdiction, you cannot use anything greater than number 6 on turkey.
Really interesting.
Yep. So you know, and even then, talking about different chokes, I have a Winchester Model 1400. It's a semi-automatic. And that is a fixed improved cylinder barrel choke. But the unique thing about that is that many of the slug rounds that are made are made specifically for the improved cylinder. So that's kind of what I like to say is it's a dual use. You know, you can go ahead and go for, you know, deer in the morning and maybe even get some dove in the evening, depending upon, you know, when your season is.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think we have any kind of prescribed shot number on any kind of game here in Texas that I know of. I'm not a big duck hunter, so don't quote me on that. But I don't think that we have anything that has any prescribed shot sizes that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything either.
Yeah, that's one of those things that when bureaucrats start making decisions that hunters are not involved in.
Yep, roger that.
Yep. So you know, it's interesting. We've got the beginnings of deer season out where I'm at, and you know, I'm watching some forums and some boards, and people are starting to show up with pictures of their does. But one of the things that I'm actually seeing more of is the raccoons. And you know, I'm not a big fan of shooting corn thieves just because, but there's a problem with raccoons and other vermin and even some of the predatory species like coyotes. You know, shotgun is going to go ahead and do a number on a coyote. I'll tell you that. Have you had any opportunity to shoot coyotes, Captain Gringo?
Boy, it's funny you mentioned that. Today when we were out fishing, after we got through duck hunting, we went fishing, caught a couple of redfish, and when we pulled up to the bank there and sitting there a little while, I looked down the bank a little bit, and there was a coyote about 125, 150 yards away. And I tell you what, I was sure wishing I had my rifle with me because I would have dusted him for sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, out here where I'm at, coyotes are they're open all year round with any method that you want to employ.
That's kind of fun, actually. You know, I used to shoot coyotes in Tucson, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you know, unfortunately, I wasn't old enough at the time living in Arizona. I remember those coyotes getting together in packs, and when we first moved out there, I used to think it was a group of teenagers out in the desert getting drunk and having a party. But they're you know, they are predators. They're dangerous as can be. There was in the Cape Breton area in Canada, there was a budding indie music singer who was walking in a Canadian national park, and she was actually killed by a pack of coyotes. And that kind of gives you an idea of the ability that these animals have to go ahead and cause damage. So, I mean, you definitely want to be able to be armed, and you definitely want to be able to protect yourself if you come into contact with these.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, and there's all kinds of predators out there. But hey, I wanted to get back to the shotgun for a minute. Gringo, so you went out and you took your shotgun, your 1187, and you said it's got a camo coating on it. Is that like a hydro dip, or is that a Cerakote, or is that some other sort of coating on it?
Man, I tell you, I couldn't tell you for sure, Mike. I bought it. I bought it like it is. I couldn't tell you, man.
Well, normally
Okay.
when Remington puts those out, they're factory coated. It's not like the Cerakote that's going to be a protective finish or a hydro dip where everything's been stripped down. That's coming straight from Remington that way. Mossberg also makes the model 835 with that camouflage paint scheme, I guess you could call it.
All right. So what I'm trying to get at here is what kind of post festivities care did you take with your shotgun in the environment that you were in?
Yeah, I tell you, I've still got it in the case right now because I hunted this morning. I hadn't broken it down and cleaned it all up yet, but yeah, I'll definitely take it all down and clean it all up.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to like reprimand you or anything. I was trying to get like, what would you do? Because this is going to lead into another point here in a second.
Well, I'll break it down completely and clean it and oil it. I was out in the saltwater environment, and that's definitely, even though this coating on these guns, that's what they're coated for. This is made for duck hunting. Came with a clip for the sling already. That's what it's made for. And
okay,
but
do you have any kind of special products you like to use when you clean?
Man, I tell you, I've got a new one, or the oil I'm using now is this Amsoil metal protector. And I tell you what, I've used it on a couple guns and fishing reels now, and knives too. I've been really impressed with this stuff. It was given to me to try out, and I told the guy if it was any good, I'd come on your show and talk it up. And I tell you what, I'm really liking it so far. I've got a CRKT knife that I've been using out there to cut bait, and I didn't wash it off one day after I got back. I left it in the boat, and the next day it had rust spots all over it. So I cleaned it up a little bit and oiled it down with this oil, and I've been using it to fish with ever since, and no more rust.
Oh, you said that was the cricket knife, the Columbia River knife tool?
That's them.
Oh, there you go.
All right, so this Amsoil product, Amsoil is a fairly decent product. I mean, this is not a pitch for Amsoil or anything, but I mean, let's just look at this. This is it's a synthetic product, and it usually comes in a tad higher than like regular motor oils or any kind of like lubricants. But it is a quality product. This brings to mind some other lubricants that we see out there, like kind of like specialized for the firearms industry. They, Frog Lube and Liberal Tears and FireClean and all these things that kind of like are targeted to the operator, so to speak. Well, FireClean is one of these ones that claims, probably, and it's probably accurate, they've got lots of use in theaters of combat, lots of use in Iraq and Afghanistan, and tested by the military, and they've got some pretty radical views on how their product is superior to everybody else's, and lots of footage and test results and all this kind of stuff. Well, a couple of firearms blogs in the last week have come up with some interesting information out of the firearmblog.com and verwapenblog.com. It turns out that FireClean is actually Crisco. It's the same exact thing as Crisco cooking oil. It's a canola oil. And FireClean sells a 2-ounce bottle for $24, and you can buy a 64-ounce bottle of Crisco for probably what, $6.99?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't bought any Crisco in a while, but
But you have seen FireClean for sale, and you've read about FireClean in online, in blogs and magazines, and how this is the ultimate product out there for the shooter and the operator and the military man. This is the ultimate product, and at $24 for 2 ounces, that is pretty remarkable. I mean, it should be like the Lord's tears or something like that.
Yeah.
But
blessed holy water.
really, it should be, but turns out that it's actually the exact same thing as Crisco, like by gas mass spectrometry, analysis, and they've actually come, are fighting these allegations without denying the allegations, and They've given a statement saying that, well, you're just not looking at the performance of the product and blah, blah, blah. And they never actually come out and say that it is not canola oil. So it's basically, it is Crisco.
Yeah.
And,
well, and that's the interesting thing.
Buyer beware.
It's the interesting thing. You talk about canola oil. A lot of folks don't understand that that's actually coming from something called rapeseed. And I don't know about out in Texas, but across other parts of the South, that's a cash crop, and it's a perfect opportunity for, if you're a hunter, to be able to go out and set up a stand, because there's a lot of different animals that like that as a habitat for themselves. Whether it's pigs, whether it's deer, they'll get in there, and that gives you an opportunity to go out and use your firearm of choice in order to take them.
Well, what I'm trying to get at with this oil thing is how many of these other products that are out there that are specifically marketed to the firearms community really aren't just, carb cleaner or, mineral oil or something like that. It's just got a fancy name on it. I mean, truly, I believe Hops number 9 is just mineral oil with some sort of additive that gives it that smell.
Yeah.
Well,
you're going to want to have something to remember it by. Your olfactory senses are some of the most accurate and memory producing senses that you have. So think about the first time that you smelled a good lasagna or something like that. That's something that can stay with you for life.
Yeah, I saw something similar when I was out looking at shells for duck hunting. I came across some that were $42 for a box of 25 shells, and the tagline on the side of the box was, "I didn't come this far to miss." And I think it's one of those things that's geared to catch those hunters. There
is that guy who's going to choose. Yeah, he's probably got those RIP 9mm bullets in his gun, and he's got some of that can't miss shotgun shells and 2 quarts of liberal tears and frog lube. Man, I mean, all these things are just frog lube. Turns out that's some sort of petroleum wax. Well,
it's funny you talk about marketing. I think that's one of the things that the United States manufactures. Because we don't have manufacturing anywhere anymore. Manufacturing is long since gone, but the marketing is what's taken its place. And in the United States, that's all we have. So we have marketing of gun parts, we have marketing of entire firearms, but we don't have the means to produce them in the large numbers that we used to have.
So I think the award for the ability to produce firearms rapidly, that goes to China.
Yeah. Well,
Hey guys,
go ahead, Gringo.
Just say back to the shotgun thing again. I was going to ask you guys a while ago. When you're wing shooting, do you actively think about the lead you're putting on the bird when you're swinging the shotgun, or do you just throw it up and shoot?
Well, Michael, you want to go ahead and handle that first?
Me personally, I like to. I kind of put the bird at the back of my hand. That's on the foregrip. That's where I lead from. I don't aim at the bird. I give it about the back of my hand from when I've got the gun up. That's pretty much where my point of aim is at. That should be, I should be matching the bird right there if it's coming crossways.
Well, and you know, I don't have a lot of experience in wing shooting. I think I've had the opportunity to just shoot trap and skeet. I've never actually been able to shoot birds in flight. But if it's anything similar to what we've been taught in the military, you know, you definitely want to have an understanding of the distance and the speed of travel of whatever your target is, and that should help you generate an appropriate lead. I can tell you that for shooting from the ground, looking at, say, like a running boar, anywhere between 60 and 100 yards, if I want to hit a boar that's moving with a rifle, I want to aim at its nose, and I'm going to connect right behind its ear.
Yeah, about 4 to 6 inches. That's probably about right. You know, with a high-powered rifle like that, you know, I've heard a lot of people talk about them running shots like that, and that's a good way of doing it. Another way I've done it also is when a deer's moving through the brush, you know, and you know he's going to pass the next opening. You set your scope on that next opening, and as soon as he enters the scope, squeeze the trigger.
I agree with that one. I've actually taken a boar doing that very same method. Boar was running through the forest. I was shooting a 30-06, and he crossed one set of trees, and I gauged it to the next set of trees, and as soon as I saw the nose go to the just break that side of the tree, I pulled the trigger and put it right down behind his ear, and it was a one-shot drop.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you lead them up in the sky?
Well, I'm an instinctive shooter. You know, when I think about how much I'm leading the bird, and when I think about it too much, that's when I miss. When I just throw up and instinctively, when it feels right, squeeze the trigger, that's when I'm an instinctive shooter. Is what I'm getting at. I can't actually think about the lead when I'm shooting the bird. But I've never heard your method of, you know, using your hand that's on the foregrip, using that as a gauge to lead by either.
I kind of like come by that. I don't know. Maybe it's not natural, and I don't think it works for everybody. But it works for the way that I hold a shotgun, and I don't know. Maybe it's not the best method, but it works for me. You know, I get.
Yeah, I think working is relative to the situation, and if it's something that you're comfortable with and you can replicate the results, you know, pretty consistently, I think that's going to work.
Results, I'd sell that method like in a DVD. You know, learn to shoot wings.
Well, you know, and that's half the way that you can make money these days.
Dude. Well, you know, that's a good point. There's a lot of hunting videos out there, and really, I think you get the exact same thing off of YouTube for free instead of, you know, paying $19.99, you know, for a series of 4 DVDs.
Well, yeah, I mean, you take a look at the folks that are the Duck Commander and the Buck Commander folks. That's how they made the bulk of their money when they weren't making deer and duck calls. They were out there producing videos of hunts, and a lot of it had to do with duck hunting and down there in Louisiana. And you know, hey, if it's promoting the shooting sports or hunting, for me, hey,
I'm gonna have to almost disagree with you that it was promoting the shooting sports, because I really don't see that as. I mean, it wasn't necessarily negative towards the shooting sports, but really what it did was I think it kind of exploited that flyover state mentality that, oh, look at these hicks here in the middle of the swamp in Nowhereville, you know, Louisiana. Let's make fun of the way they talk and how backwards their views are. And look, they've got beards. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, but you know what? I think that there's, like you're saying, I think there's a population of folks that are out there that have that. They have that elitist mentality where they can poke fun, and they can make comments and jest, and they can really talk down about these folks. But in the end, who's the ones laughing to the bank? And I'll tell you what, if it takes a Louisiana accent and talking a little bit slower than your folks from Maryland, well, I think that they found on the right strategy, the right method.
In the end, the one that goes to the bank is the one that signs the check.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, they're signing a lot more checks than the folks who are out there talking smack about them.
Well, I guess that's it, but I don't think that's necessarily the end-all, be-all standard. I mean, I don't know. I've got real issues with how the media is portraying things that are near and dear to me. Firearms being one of the main things that's being portrayed in the negative light, and it's. I don't necessarily want to say it's a socialist message, but it's a damn sure Bolshevik or Menshevik message that's coming across, and. The push for gun control is on again. So, we got to hit the 4 rules of gun safety. So you're not a part of that. So first off, every firearm is loaded until you physically and visually verify that it is not loaded. Rule number 2 is keep that barrel pointed in a safe direction. Rule number 3, know what your target is, know what's beyond your target at all times. And rule number 4, keep the booger hook off the bang switch. There are no accidental discharges. They're all negligent discharges. And like I just saw something yesterday. It was a police sergeant accidentally shot himself while cleaning his gun. Now, I personally don't believe that, and I think when they relate that, it does two things. Number one, it distracts attention away from why did this cop kill himself, and number 2, it hammers home the point that firearms are inherently evil.
Well, and that's part of the narrative. That's the storyline that has to be hit in every single story, is that people are just not competent enough to handle firearms on their own. So we're going to have to legislate how they're able to do that. And Bernie Sanders was in the news. He's in my area yesterday, and he's taken that message to a largely conservative crowd down in Liberty University. And aside from talking about the rest of his socialist platform, he comes right out and he tells you what he's for and what he's not for. And I think that's what's some people that are in the gun control crowd. I think they're trying to seize on that, and they're trying to get some of their platform, imported into his vision of what he wants for America.
I don't think Bernie Sanders has a bat's chance of hell.
Well, I'm not saying that that's the guy I want. Definitely not.
I truly don't. I think he's waiting to get Ron Paul'd by the media. I think it's going to be another wedge in the divide. Something to bring people further apart. Because my personal belief is that this place is going to crack up, and it's going to crack up by design. And pretty much everything is being pushed to the point of making it crack up. Whether it's racial strife, it's economic strife, it's
income inequality. That's
pure perversion on your television, mindless entertainment, bullshit in your food, your medicine is poor, arresting people for a plant, whatever the issue that will cause divide, they're going to push that issue. And I don't know. I think everybody's just got to read between the lines.
Well, like I said, I heard Martin O'Malley calling for the Maryland-style firearms control nationwide, and anybody that's either living in Maryland or traveling through Maryland just need to be reminded of the license plate reader and having a concealed carry license. That is an invitation for the Maryland State Police to stop your vehicle and rip it, door to door, searching for a concealed weapon that you may or may not have. So, yeah, if this guy's pushing that kind of gun control, he ain't going to get my vote.
Hell no.
Well, I don't think there's anybody out there other than Rand Paul who's really a fan of your rights. I think Ted Cruz talks the talk. I think in the end, Ted Cruz he's married to a managing director of Goldman Sachs. He's one of them. Donald Trump, well, you don't get to be a real estate magnate in New York without being one of them. Really the only person out there that on the either of the two parties' platforms is Rand Paul, that really seems to be 100% for your firearms rights. We discussed last week. Jeb Bush doesn't even own a firearm.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's kind of interesting, because
so far from humanity that he doesn't have to have a gun because, well, he's got, bodyguards.
Well, not only it's the same
I
way
mean-
across the board for anybody that's either been married to a president or it has aspirations themselves. They don't ever depend on themselves. They have people that they pay that have guns to do that for them. But you take a look at Rand Paul. I tell you what, I haven't heard his name mentioned in local press in almost a month. It's like the guy's dropped out of the race. I mean, condolences to Rick Perry suspending his platform and his race for the presidency. But yeah,
Don't worry, he's going to be fine. He'll be president of like the Used Hot Tub Salesman Association or something.
with those pointy boots.
He'd be promoting hair care products.
Yep. So yeah, I'm kind of waiting to see when the next shoe is going to drop. What's the next mass shooting? Because there's always one in the works. There's whether it's, hey, we're going to go back and we're going to rehash the Aurora shooting. We're going to go into the shooting of the week, whether it's against a cop or whether it's against a young unarmed black man who's in the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time of day. I'm waiting to see what the narrative becomes in this next couple months, because we're getting ready to head.
I think it's been shown what the narrative is, and we just have to look back recently at the Garland shooting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is the folks that wanted to disrupt the Draw Muhammad event.
Now some news breaks about that. It turns out that the promoter of the violence against this, the guy who actually his name was Australia Witness, and he was the one who was number one publishing the address and telling his faithful to take weapons, bombs, and knives, what have you, and assault this thing. Is a Jewish kid out of Florida.
Well, and this kind of brings up the whole lone wolf thing, because everything in the news is, oh, hey, we've got these lone wolves that are out there operating in the shadows and waiting to strike.
That's not what they were saying about this kid. They had Rita Katz from the Sight Institute. They're the people who come up with every one of them Bin Laden tapes. Each one of those were bullshit. And you got Pamela Geller, who entered the national debate. She wanted like Secret Service protection. And they all cited this
what
kid.
She does are two different things.
Well, yeah, but I mean, she captured the national attention for long enough to stir up this more goddamn racial divide and racial hate over some bullshit that doesn't even involve 99% of the United States. This is all one thing that in the end benefits one fucking nation.
You must be talking about Ireland.
It's the goddamn Irish. But
I remember Blazing Saddles.
Yeah. So wake up! All this terror stuff is bullshit.
Yeah. Well, speaking of terror stuff being bullshit, Michael, have you got your eye on anything? You're looking to add to the collection, or as we say in California, your arsenal?
Maybe just more 9mm at this time.
What about you, Captain? You seen anything out there that's caught your eye?
No, I really can't say I have, man. I did pick up my uncle's bow this week and starting to practice with it, getting ready for bow season. That's not a firearm though.
Yeah, well, bow season is here, but I'm looking to see if there may be a market. I was considering putting up a Zastava model 98. So this is a civilian reproduction of a Mauser hunting rifle. Seeing if I can get some interest in that, maybe turning that into a semi-automatic shotgun or maybe a semi-automatic and a pump. So we'll see how that goes. But I think we're getting out of time.
Well, hey, everybody, thank you very much. UCY TV. Gringo, thank you for being here tonight, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. Enjoyed it.
No problem. Michael, thanks. Jules, thanks. Listeners, thanks. We're out of here.
Everybody, buy a gun like the song says. Thank you very much.